Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Tuesdays with Story. We're back. Yes.
We're back, baby.
Yeah, that's right. We had our holiday hiatus, and now we're going into 2022, uh, both with both barrels.
Yep. So, so if you are watching and you haven't subscribed yet, like, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and I don't know, send Daniel nice messages on Twitter.
Yes, yes. I do appreciate that. I would appreciate nice messages on Twitter.
Yeah, yeah,
uh, yeah.
I was watching a video from someone today, and they said, like most things that I find that irritate me, I found it on, or that enrage me, I found it on Twitter. And it's like, dude, that's the point of Twitter.
Yes. Exactly. Well, if you're new here and you don't know who we are, my name is Daniel Parker, and I am the writer and creator of this comic book here, Angels Awakening, successfully crowdfunded and
And fulfilled.
and fulfilled. Yes, and I've got another book coming out soon called Guardian Angel, which is the follow-up to Angels Awakening. I've got 8 pages of the book drawn and colored so far, and going to be putting up the mailing list hopefully sometime this month. So be on the lookout for that bad boy, and of course my co-host there.
Yep, I'm a DB Fastbinder, also known online as Darth Bobcat. I'm the author of the Confessions of the MAGPIE Wizard series on Amazon. It's your book 3 came out last month, and right now I have it on sale for $1 for the rest of the week.
Here it is.
And if you're interested in supporting me on Patreon, book 4 is up there in its entirety. I had to take off books 1 through 3 because of Amazon's exclusivity stuff, but if you read through this book and you just can't wait, book 4 is up on Patreon and book 5 is now posting. I've had 2 updates on it so far.
Ooh, very nice. Yeah, chugging along with this series. Yeah, it's what I like to see, and I know a lot of other people like to see.
Yep, basic overall plan is 7 books, I believe.
$7. All right. So kind of like Harry Potter.
Yeah, but with more tits.
And a narrator who's not a hero.
Right.
No.
Although, really, I mean, as we all know, Voldemort did nothing wrong.
Yes, that's right.
And or the wizard government were the real villains.
That's exactly. Yeah.
I mean, if you really think about it, uh, like magic is cool and all, but does it have a purpose in everyday life outside of just doing things the hard way? Why send an owl when, heck, even if you don't like text messages, the post office will do a better job of it.
Yeah. Very true.
And I was hating Harry Potter before it was cool last year.
Yes. All right. Well, yeah. Link to this book is in the description down below. So get on the $1 sale while it's still there.
Hey, Bogdan.
Oh, hey Bogdan, good to see you, man. Yeah, always nice to see my artist catching the show.
Yeah, I don't know that I've seen him on before.
Uh, I think he's been come on a couple of times to check us out.
Yep.
But yeah. So for this show, we're kind of borrowing a little bit from your boy Zach, who did a video talking about how we need well, in his word, we're going to try to be a little more eloquent than he. Well, I don't know, he's pretty eloquent, but
It's very succinct.
very succinct. Yeah.
He said we need weaker, dumber heroes.
Weaker, dumber heroes. Oh, hey, Joker fan is here. Hey, man, good to see you.
Hello, hello.
Hello. And yes, not working at the moment. Well, that'll change here pretty soon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Until we keep you busy making more Jessica comics.
Yes. But yeah, so he was saying dumber, weaker heroes, and I would say imperfect heroes.
Hmm.
So basically, just making your heroes not good at everything under the sun. There's a tendency to make your hero just this absolute, you know, well, there's no other word for it, a god. Where they're just, they're perfect at everything. You know, not necessarily a Mary Sue, but I would say probably an Uber Mary Sue, where it's just like they can do anything, and it's that, like you said, he can fight 20 ninjas at the same time, and it's like, no, you really can't. But
Yeah, unless they're kind of crap ninjas.
yeah, like the Foot Clan in the Ninja Turtles cartoons.
And even then, there was usually like a similar number of turtles and robots at any given time.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, it's you kind of have to make them not so good at everything. So like when they come up against a villain that they that has skills that they don't. Yeah, they have to struggle. They have to get their butts handed to them.
Yep. And where Richard, aka your boy Zach, came up with this observation is he was watching the James Bond movies, and some sort of weird backwards crazy person push pins on a cork board order
Yeah.
that, as he put it, only made sense to his OCD. And he had observed that in the who was the first Bond again? Sean Connery.
Connery. Yeah.
In the Connery movies, it might be an issue where, oh no, I'm on a train and I have to get up on the train, but there's a guy who's about, a few inches taller and 5 years younger than me. He's 5% tougher than I am. What do I do? And it could be like a long fight sequence.
Hmm.
Versus in the Craig movies where he's just a one-man army.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's not really plausible seeing a man who's over 50 years old fighting and beating up a guy who's 20, 30 years younger than him, and can easily
Yep.
beat him up, just tear him apart.
Yep. And before we get too further, let's just say that it's not that it isn't fun to have over the top nonsense at times. Like, say, for example, Rambo movies, most Schwarzenegger movies, or Stallone movies outside of
Mhm.
Rambo, where it's an action movie. Like the only really grounded Stallone movies I've seen are the Rocky movies. And grounded is relative considering that in the 80s, Paulie got himself a robot waifu.
which was not in the original version. If
What, really? They just
no,
added that in?
no, they added that in, yeah, because I think Stallone released a director's cut not recently, and they cut the robot out.
That's Wait, wasn't he the director originally too?
Yes.
I feel like there should be a word besides director's cut if you were the original director too. Special edition? I don't know.
Special, yeah, yeah.
But still.
It's yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's like you can have some fun with really implausible things where you're just mowing down enemies, and it kind of feels like but on the other hand, it depends on the stakes you want to do. Like like Rambo movies, you're not necessarily super invested in what's going on. You know, at the end of the day that Rambo's gonna, well, actually outside of the probably the first and the last movie, from
Mhm.
what I've heard, you that those had some stakes, but like the other ones in the middle where they just got progressively more cartoonish. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm here to watch Rambo hold a machine gun that a man shouldn't be able to carry, much less fire while carrying it, mowing down an entire Soviet battalion one-handed,
Yeah.
single-handed. So
And don't forget flying a helicopter.
yes, so it's like, okay, I'm turning my brain off. I'm just gonna watch some popcorn and see some explosions and enjoy seeing some nonsensical stuff.
Yes.
So we're not denying that that's a fun experience, but there's a challenge when you are trying to set up a scenario that that the viewer is really meant to take seriously, and suddenly, you're how to put it, you're doing ridiculous stuff, and the hero can do no wrong, and it's like, okay, are we gonna have a challenge here?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's and that's the thing. Like the Craig Bond movies were supposed to be a little more grounded in reality compared to the other Bond movies, especially the Brosnan and the uh, Roger Moore movies. And and then but then you get these scenarios where, yeah, like he's fighting off like 20 guys, especially especially the last movie. Like there was some like kind of farcical stuff going on in there, and especially in Spectre, where and I mentioned this before we came on, where he shoots down a helicopter with a 7 millimeter Walther PBK. It's like, okay.
That's a 1 in a million shot.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when I saw it in the theater, and I saw him doing that. I'm like, oh, there's no way in hell he's going to be able to shoot that. Like, oh, he shot the helicopter down. All right, yeah, okay.
That's a thing that can happen.
Yeah. But yeah, it's you kind of have to keep like certain things in mind when you're creating these scenarios. It's like, okay, yeah, it's implausible, like DB was saying about a man firing a machine gun that a man can't possibly hold up, and it's like, okay, but it's an 80s action movie, like, okay, and it's meant to be, if you kind of establish with your audience, or you establish with your reader that it's a little farcical, you can get away with it. But if you're trying to do something, but if you're trying to show, oh, this is more grounded in reality, and you do something that's farcical, it's like, okay, you lost it. You've lost your audience, you lost your reader.
Right, and especially with the Craig Bond movies, like you said, they're much more dour. So
Hmm.
it's like, okay, this is serious business. We're not having chases in ice caverns with Madonna anymore.
Right.
Where we're kind of just cribbing the Born Identity tone, and we're applying it to the Bond formula. And Bond girls kind of exist, but you're supposed to feel bad about it. Yeah. We'll kill some of them horribly, and then just break him inside.
Yeah. Yeah.
But also, silenced Walter take down a helicopter.
Take that out. Okay, yeah, exactly.
50-year-old man just walking through an army of Spectre goons.
Yeah. Yeah, and then being able to another one I forgot, uh throwing Dave Batista out of a train.
Wait, Dave Batista was in one of those?
He was Inspector.
Oh, I see. I only ever saw Casino Royale, Quantum of Solace, and half of what do you call it, Skyfall.
Scott, yeah.
Which I kept. I say half because um, it's rough going to your first past midnight showing when you're not used to it and had work that day. I just kept falling asleep and then waking up for an explosion, and falling asleep and waking up for an explosion. Yeah, it's like in my mind, I told myself the movie was boring, but I can't honestly say that because I was so tired. I was just falling asleep during just about anything, really.
Yeah.
I know, and I woke up towards the end. I'm to this day, it's my friends and I are still like, Skyfall was the name of a mansion. There isn't like a cool space laser or rods from God type thing like that.
Nope. It was the name of his mansion. But yeah, yeah, Batista he's the henchman, Blofeld's henchman in Spectre.
And he beats up Dave Batista hand to hand.
Well, it doesn't at first, but then he somehow manages to get him, and manages to throw him off a train.
Okay, suspension of disbelief is officially shattered.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, especially when Batista's throwing him around like a rag doll. It's just like,
Hey,
okay.
Chengis.
Oh, hey, Chengus. Good to see you.
But Dave Batista, and this is a man that the world has seen shirtless on many occasions. We know how ripped he is,
Yes.
with or without the Drax makeup.
Yeah. And his introductory scene is him gouging a guy's eyes out.
So he didn't have to. That wasn't him clevering his way out of it or anything like that, or he
Well,
just
it was a little clever, but it was also accidental.
okay. Yeah, that's satisfying.
Yeah.
So and I kind of wanted to talk about this just because first off, I thought the you boy Zach video was interesting, but also I just happened to watch Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. The last Indiana Jones movie they made. They certainly didn't make one in the 2000s, and there certainly isn't another one in production right now.
Right. Right.
So strange that they didn't make more sequels, but hey, sometimes you just let a series go.
Yes.
Just like they never made more Matrix sequels for some reason, like that, or they never made Matrix sequels for some reason. They had a good hook with it for the first movie, but I guess they just decided to leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. They did one movie, and that was it. They didn't need to make any more movies.
Yep. But back on point.
Yeah.
And what I just noticed after watching that video about the we need dumber, weaker heroes was that Indiana could do like some implausible stuff, but he wasn't a one man army.
Hmm.
Like when they were fighting in the desert, he was on horseback and he was using the fact that he could go faster than those old tanks could turn their turrets to his advantage,
Right.
and playing around with them. He wasn't, and the fact that the tank didn't have any anti personnel weapons because boy, if there'd been a machine gun there, would have
Yeah.
been a Indy on a pile of horse remnants.
Yes.
So so they did a good job plausibly making it so that he could do some implausible stuff. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. They made an implausible thing seem more plausible because of how they set it up.
Hmm.
And most of the time, he and his dad had to clever their way out of things,
Right.
which is the preference.
Yeah. Yeah. Like with the birds on the beach.
Yeah, exactly. That was a great scene.
He's got the umbrella and he's making the
Yeah.
birds fly up. Yeah.
For those who haven't seen it, at one point they're being dive bombed by a German fighter plane, and they've been chased down to this beach, and Sean Connery takes his umbrella and scares a bunch of seabirds to fly up into the path of the bomber or the fighter before it can make another strafing run on them. And the birds just completely destroy the plane because like the engine gets choked up and they crash through the window. And
Yeah, yeah, and I think I think Connery quotes Charlemagne, and Indy's just kind of looking at him like, "Ah, geez."
that's like it's like, man, let the rocks and the birds and the trees be my soldiers.
Yes.
And it's also like, in fact, now here's the other thing is that I was just talking about the advantages of being clever. You can have a character that's too clever, like, say, the modern Batman.
Mm,
S- so let's use Indiana Jones 3 as our example of how, like, a reasonable amount of clever. So Indiana Jones gets to the place where the the Holy Grail is kept, and there are three challenges he has to get through. And so, first it's like the penitent man will pass, which means that there's going to be some buzz saws that are going to try to take your head off, which he realizes at the last possible second.
mhm,
Um, there's a thing where they have to jump on some steps that are like have letters on them, and the ones that have the wrong letters are will collapse under you and just shoot you down into into this cavern. But the right ones are reinforced. You could argue that after 1,000 years they should all just be basically rubble, but and he even gets one of the letters wrong because, but in the Roman alphabet, I'm doing my bad Sean Connery, but in the Roman alphabet, Jehovah starts with an I,
yeah.
and then he gets to the. Then he gets to the, you have to take the leap of faith, and it turns out that there's just this walkway that is perfectly designed to blend in with the wall behind it. So it looks like he's walking over nothing, but there is actually something there.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, it's, I would say everything he comes up with there is pretty reasonable. Like, we saw him earlier in the movie. His dad made him respond to him in Greek when he was a kid. So you know that
Right.
he speaks Greek in advance. So that's good setup. He's shown to be quick-witted, so it's like it's not implausible that he. Looks like we have some nice spam bots there,
Oh, wonderful. All right.
and we also had one that
Oh
Apple
yeah,
Pad.
yeah. I got it. Got it. Got it. And good night, Bogdan.
Yep. But if you were to go with, say, let's say it was modern comic book Batman in that situation,
Mhm.
um, the penitent man will pass. He would not even necessarily have to understand the meaning of the riddle. He's just probably fast enough to dodge it, even if he saw it coming.
Mhm.
Or he would have some, like, oh my, Bat Magneto reader found it in the wall. There's
Yeah.
there's an unusual concentration of metal in there, so I'm just gonna go under it.
Mhm.
He would ninja flip his way over the entire set of letters, thus bypassing the entire thing. Although he would probably comment, yeah, he probably wanted me to jump on the ones that spelled out Jehovah,
Yeah.
and then he would just bat grapple hook his way over.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, okay, so congratulations, you've taken the entire challenge out of this.
Yeah. 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 That's why, like, when you have a scenario like that, you throw in like a character and be like, well, how would this character do it? Like, oh, well, they would make it look really easy.
Yeah, it's something that I noticed a while back. Do you ever watch Death Battle?
No, I never. No, I never watched that.
So for those who don't know, Death Battle is now it's made by Rooster Teeth. It used to be made by Screw Attack. Uh, that was they do these little animated battles between different fictional characters. So you'd have stuff like Superman versus Goku, which boy that make the internet mad when Superman beat Goku easily because basically they would go through and like they would just catalog all of the uh, they would just catalog all of the feats of the characters, and Superman being in comic books for 70 years had examples where he was pulling a planet or moving faster than light or just things like that, right? So
Right. Yeah.
Goku is a very, very strong man who's constantly getting stronger over the course of the series. So but like not quite godlike.
Hmm.
And the the thing I noticed very quickly in these death battles is that with a few exceptions, it was usually the character I liked better who won, or excuse me, who I liked better who lost.
Mm.
At first, I kind of had like fanboy rage. Ooh, how dare you! And then I started thinking about it, and I realized that part of the reason it kept being the characters I cared about more was because the stronger character often has kind of simpler adventures.
Hmm.
Like, say they had He-Man versus Lion-O from Thundercats. Poor Lion-O.
Yeah.
He-Man literally was moving planets in his cartoon. Um, no exaggeration whatsoever.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Uh,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think I remember seeing that. Yeah.
I never actually really watched He-Man, so it kind of caught me by surprise. But
Yeah.
and Lion-O was like a very strong lion man with a sword that could see things and
Hmm.
help him fight mummies.
Well, don't forget, Lionel was a man child too. I mean, he was
Oh
like
yeah,
a
yeah. He was like 10 years old mentally.
yeah.
So it's like, oh, so you have absolutely no advantages whatsoever versus He-Man. Okay. It's like, which cartoon would I rather watch? And if you, I can tell you, I tried to watch He-Man. I couldn't even watch it ironically.
Yeah, I would say like for anyone over the age of 7 would be very difficult to watch.
Right, unless you had nostalgia for it, I guess.
Hmm.
But yeah, that's the and I just kept noticing that like, it was just a consistent pattern. Like it was always the DC Comics character who would win, or it would be this, and it'd be like, but it was always just, huh. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I'd rather read the loser's story
Hmm.
because they had less raw power or less raw intellect going into it.
Yeah, yeah, and the greater the struggle they have, the more interesting the story is.
Hmm. Now,
Mhm.
the other thing is that uh, it's been a it's been a known problem in Hollywood for years that, well, just think about how many movies end and, oh no, there's a giant beam in the sky, and if we don't stop it from beaming soon enough, something bigger that we couldn't actually stop will come through and destroy us. So we have to destroy the beam.
Yes, thank you, Avengers.
Yeah, uh, it's something you start seeing that everywhere.
Hmm.
I suspect that part of the reason that was also episode one kind of popularized that a little bit, where it's like, oh, we have this whole robot army, and fortunately, there's a single point of failure.
Hmm.
So I think that when I remember distinctly thinking when I was watching the Avengers movie, oh, it's like episode one.
Yeah. Yeah, they shut it down, then all the aliens die.
Yeah,
And
that
it's
which is convenient.
yeah.
It means you don't have to means you don't have to do that type of stuff. But it's if you keep having this bigger and bigger scale, you need stronger and stronger heroes to deal with it. It also means that you can't have an adventure that's just on a smaller scale. Because it's
Mhm.
like, okay, so Captain America, yeah, you were beating up those alien thingums last week, right? Yeah. Um, th- so why are you having a trouble with this biker gang? Shut up, that's why.
Shut up, yeah. Oh, that's right. Yeah, Transformers 3
Yeah.
did that. Yeah.
I have refused to watch any Transformers movies except for the first one, which I did enjoy,
Yeah.
but everything I ever heard about any of the sequels, new.
No. Yeah. Well, the third one, they had the beam bringing Cybertron to Earth.
Oh,
Yeah.
so Joss Whedon ripped off Transformers 3 for his movie.
Yes. I, actually, I think I think he did. Yeah. Because the final battle scene in the third movie is like an hour long. It's like not quite as long as the last battle in Avengers, but pretty close.
Sheesh.
Yeah.
Sheesh. Oh, I keep forgetting that I actually did see Bumblebee
Oh, you saw yeah.
because it doesn't feel like a Transformers movie. It feels more like an episode of the Transformers cartoon, just in movie form.
Yeah.
Actually, just sidebar, Bumblebee I enjoyed. It felt like, what if they'd had the technology to try to make a character like Bumblebee in the 80s, and they made a formula teen coming of age story at the time, and they just
Mm,
wanted to minimize how many Transformers they needed.
yeah. Yeah, that was pretty much Bumblebee.
Yep. But yeah, so
Yeah, yeah.
but if you have a hero who isn't, you know, godlike and able to just mow down armies of enemies, you can give them all sorts of challenges.
Hmm.
Like, and this is an example that somebody pointed out. For Aragorn or Gimli, orcs are just something they can mow down casually.
Hmm.
But suddenly, if you have Merryweather and Pippin having to fight a single orc, suddenly that's a doomsday level problem for them.
Yeah, yeah, because they're 3 feet tall, and orcs are a lot bigger than them. Yeah, it's
that's I forget what stream I was watching where they were talking about how Gandalf was overpowered, but he was like overpowered in a very particular way, so that when they took him away,
Yeah.
suddenly the stakes raised.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, I remember that, yeah, in Lord of the Rings, yeah, because it just kind of, although he didn't really seem to do that much, if I remember, like, especially, like, the Fellowship of the Ring, like, he was just, he really didn't use that much magic in the battles. It wasn't until, like, he stopped the whatever it was called at the bridge.
Balrog, yeah.
Balrog, yeah. And then, then the Hobbit, he was, of course, the one line in the Fellowship of the Ring where he said, "If you're referring to the incident with the dragon, I was barely involved." And then you watch the Hobbit trilogy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, he wasn't really all that involved because he kept going off and doing something else."
Yeah, those movies.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, wasn't
They were a
it?
cool
Yeah,
spectacle, but
yeah. Well, Jackson didn't have the same amount of time to plan it out like he did with The Lord of the Rings.
well, plus difference trying to condense these three super long movies into three super long books into three movies versus taking one book and turning it into three
Three
movies and the
movies.
shortest book.
Yeah. Yeah. But but yeah, but there is a difference between, like Gandalf fighting orcs and like Aragorn and Gimli or Legolas. Because they, I did find that was kind of really a little over the top though. And of course I didn't read I read the first book, but I didn't read the other books. But seeing Aragorn just mowing through orcs the way he did, it was just kind of like, okay.
Right, which is why Aragorn isn't the central character.
That's right.
Right,
It's Frodo. Yeah.
right, and Frodo has a very big problem that's just perfect for him,
Hmm.
where he's just incorruptible enough to withstand the ring up until like up until he couldn't,
Yeah.
but also like him and Sam having to sneak past all these armies. Again, it's like the orcs are no problem for Gimli or Legolas or Aragorn, but man, if an orc had caught Sam and Frodo at the wrong moment, they'd have been boned.
Yeah. Yeah. Or a giant spider.
Yeah, exactly. Like that giant spider would have just been, well, in Dungeons and Dragons terms, it would have been a low problem encounter for the other heroes.
Yeah. Yeah. But for Sam, it was a real challenge.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it does seem like the trick is, it's a kind of a matter of power scaling, and the less powerful you make your main character, the easier it is to come up with problems for them.
Hmm. And which is kind of a problem with a lot of overpowered characters. It's
Mhm.
if you have a character that's really overpowered, you have two things you have to do. You have to either, or three things I should say. You either make a villain that's just as powerful as them,
Hmm.
uh, take their power down,
Hmm.
you know, or not even use them at all,
Yeah.
like they did with Captain Marvel in Avengers Endgame. Like they
Yeah.
just didn't use her at all, except
Like
until the very end.
when which irritated me. It's like, oh, she's stronger than Thanos until he had the Power Stone. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Which was on the one hand, it was fun watching him punch her over the horizon. On the other hand, it was annoying that the big bad who had scared the Hulk so bad he couldn't even transform anymore
Hmm.
uh, was getting his ass whooped by this new character who I didn't care for.
Yeah.
And it's kind of sidebar again. It's kind of funny how if you enjoy a character, uh, you root with them. If you really don't enjoy a character, it's like, no, no, you aren't allowed to deal with the villain. Get out of here. Go shoot,
Yeah, yeah.
scat. You just mentally don't want them involved.
Right. Yeah, yeah. You just like, oh no, beat it, get lost.
I don't care if logically they should use you to your utmost. We don't want to see you around.
Yeah.
Uh, And you want to know where the worst place for overpowered heroes is. Uh, there's like there's like the American and the Japanese versions of the same thing. There's Gamelet for the American version, which is books written in a kind of a gamer type world. So it's like, characters have levels and stats, the and the author kind of has to make uh, a set of rules for a non-existent game or a role-playing game for it all to work. And then there's like the Japanese side is the isekai novels, and those
Mhm.
just have like there are a few shining exceptions, but by and large, those stories tend to read like let's plays of god tier characters, which is uh, like that. I tried to read a bunch of Gamelet books. There are very few of them I ever got past book one on,
Mhm.
because the best part of the story was when they were first getting started and they had to like really struggle for every little advantage.
Mhm.
And then they hit some sort of level cap, and oh, suddenly everything's just super easy. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They got they're playing the game on God mode, and it's just
Yeah, it's already like a level of why do I careness when your story is set place in an RPG world. As much as I like Shield here, I remember the first time I tried to read the novel, I ended up hitting the part where he had a heads up display that showed him his level and everything, and I just noped out immediately. It took me years to go back and actually give it another shot just because I was so disgusted.
Yeah. I can probably see it now, like, nope.
Yeah, well, it was on my Kindle, but it still was like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, don't throw
yeah,
that.
yeah, I ended up returning it right away.
Yeah,
It's like, nope, get that out of here.
yeah. But yeah, it's going back to what we're saying. I mean, it's you have to keep the struggle there, and sometimes but you kind of have to give them a little bit of a win every now and then, because
Hmm.
I'm speaking kind of personally. um, like, if everything the main character does is a struggle, like, and they're just constantly like keep failing and failing and failing, at a
Hmm.
certain point I'm gonna be thinking, boy, this person's a real loser. They can't do anything right.
Yeah, I remember when I was watching through the first season of The Mandalorian. It's like the
Mhm.
first episode's like, okay, he did all right for himself. Well, I mean, Baby Yoda did have to save him from the Mudhorn, but that's okay. There was a giant monster that was the size of an elephant. Him needing a little bit of help is, well, okay. He got himself in over his head, and the other Mandalorians had to come out and save him from that mob. But it was a whole mob of them, and he was doing all right, I guess.
Mhm.
And then Gina Carano's character is just beating the crap out of him with her bare hands, and it's like, okay, you suck.
Yeah.
That armor is supposed to be special, and she should have like her hand should be cracking open and broken after she punched you in the face repeatedly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, oh, come on, man.
Like after a couple episodes, the season started winning me back over, but still, that episode four, man, it was just like,
Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, man, can you do anything right?
yep. I had a few people have that response to the first Magpie Wizard book,
Mm.
um, which basically they were expecting it to be like him getting a harem and winning every fight easily. When I
Yeah.
intentionally had it so that he couldn't use his best spells because they would out him as a devil spy.
Mm.
Um, and he was used to using his wallet to seduce like courtesans and barmaids and stuff in a much more libertine society versus girls who were kind of looking for like an actual relationship. So he kept pissing them off, uh, which I suspect they would have been much happier if I'd written an isekai about a guy who made a harem.
Uh,
Which just goes to show that you can't please everybody.
yeah. Yeah. And but yeah, it's there's a fine balance that you have to make, and sometimes you're successful, sometimes you're not, and I will say one of the things, one of the criticisms I did have with Angel's Awakening was that the the villain in the story, Sky, uh, didn't really present that much of a challenge for Jessica. And looking at it now, I can kind of see what they meant by that.
Mhm. Which it was what, a 20-page story, 24,
32.
32. Right. 32 pages where you're also having to establish the whole world and the character backstory and everything. You don't necessarily like the what, what was the name of that one comic that we both backed that I don't think you read with like the manga style guy, where it's like Xenotype.
Oh yeah, Xenotype. Yeah,
Xenotype was the exact opposite problem, where it was like what was like 100-page graphic novel
yeah, something
that was
like
just like
that. Yeah.
one long fight scene, and by about page 20, I was like, "You've given me no reason to care about anybody, and this fight scene just keeps on going." Okay, and now they punch some more, and then somebody drives over someone else, and what? Well, why is that girl kind of doing a Marvel joke right now? She was almost raped earlier,
Oh, God.
or like, or not like the villain, or the Lion Man was trying to eat her, or something awful. Like she should have been much more traumatized and just like, yeah, take it. When she was trying to run him over with the truck to help the Xenotype hero,
uh,
and then at the end of it, it's like, okay, well, the Lion Man is dead. The Lion Man was not dead. His soul had escaped, or some part of him had escaped to go regenerate, and it's like, wait, what? You spent 100 pages fighting the Lion Man. The Lion Man isn't even dead. Not a recommend. So that was the
yeah.
exact opposite problem, where it was like, well, not the exact opposite problem, but it was like, oh man, that was a huge challenge, but absolutely nothing happened. Angel's Awakening, progress was made.
well, I appreciate that.
Yeah,
But I will promise in Guardian Angel there will be some very prolonged fights that are more difficult for the heroes.
right. And there's more than one way to make a problem for the characters. Like sometimes you can have a character who all their talents are around fighting, and you suddenly put them in a non-fighting situation. It's like, wait, what?
Hmm.
What am I supposed to do here?
Yeah. Yeah, like or I've been going back and revisiting the turtles, and you might have a story where Michelangelo has to use his brains.
Oh no.
like, like Michelangelo's not that smart.
Are we talking the 80s cartoon, or it's some of the comics, or
Well, 80s cartoon, yeah.
okay.
And I've also been watching the 2012 show.
Is that the CGI one?
Yeah.
That that one was pretty good. I think it's funny how voice acting standards changed enough that the guy who was like good enough to be the tough guy, Raphael, was demoted to Donatello by 2010 standards.
You know. Well, yeah, and then you had Samwise Gamgee voicing Raphael.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Hmm, that's cool.
Yeah, and then I think it was season 3. Seth Green started voicing Leonardo.
Huh.
Yeah,
Okay, I mean, if they want to bring in Chris Griffin, then more
Chris.
power to you.
Yeah, Chris Griffin. Yeah,
But
yeah.
uh, But yeah, that's like forcing Michelangelo to think, or honestly, he's kind of the bottom tier turtle.
Hmm.
So if like really like he's great for those type of scenarios where it's like, oh no, I usually coast by because my brothers are there and I'm just backup. What do I do when it's just me?
Yeah, yeah, and well, oh, I will say, like, or with like Batman, if
Mhm.
sometimes he can't solve a problem with his fists. Sometimes he has to use his mind, like when he's taking on the Riddler.
Yep. Although the problem can sometimes come up. But I've planned for every possible contingency, including the various riddles that the Riddler could throw at me.
Yeah, that's true. Another
Uh,
bot.
yeah, I don't think we ever had bots before. That's interesting.
Yeah, that is. All right.
Uh,
But yeah.
I guess the price of getting higher up in the algorithm.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, well, I am 8 subscribers away from 50. So,
Woohoo!
yeah.
On the one hand, it feels wrong to to ruin 42. On the other hand, get past 42.
Yes.
If you're watching and enjoying yourself, go ahead and give him a sub.
Yes. Yes, because we all know what the meaning of life is.
Yep.
Mhm.
But and again, like Batman is like just the weirdest character in terms of scaling because he has like an equal amount of problems fighting a group of street toughs as he does fighting Darkseid,
Mhm.
or at least like parademons.
Yeah, yeah, it's yeah, he can take it out of Parademon with his exploding batarangs, but then, then he'll have a hard time taking on a gang of, like a gang of carjackers.
Yeah, that was one of the weirder things in The Brave and the Bold was up until Superman finally showed up in the last season. My theory with that show is that it was a universe where Superman died and Batman had to step up and take over his place as the world's premier superhero.
Uh,
But Batman would in one episode. Actually, it was. I remember there was this one episode where there was a bat robot he had created that was voiced by Adam West, who was like a dumb incompetent. It's like some sort of like giant transformer looking thing, but they were fighting Gotham mobsters led by this guy called Babyface,
okay.
and it was just it just struck me as I don't care how incompetent that giant transforming bat robot is. Babyface should not be giving him troubles.
Yeah. Uh,
If I remember the episode right.
mm. I never watched that show. I couldn't get past the fact that that Rex Kwando from Napoleon Dynamite did the voice of Batman.
Really?
Yeah.
That's him.
Yes.
It's it's uh it's one of the more different takes on Batman they've done right lately.
Mm,
It's
yeah. But yeah, I guess there are different ways to make things not very make things difficult for the hero, but conversely not so difficult that they're gonna just look like idiots, or make it too easy for them to just kind of like skate through.
right. You don't want to be the Mandalorian in season 1, and you don't want to be Rey Skywalker or Palpatine
Right.
because she's another example of that type of Batman problem where she's good at everything. It's weird if you watch if you watch the Force Awakens again, I just kind of think of it as what if Finn was the Jedi and she was the Han Solo? And suddenly it makes more sense that she would be the Han Solo because she has the technical background. She's able to figure out the ship. Han immediately cottons. Han immediately likes her. Finn's the one with the lightsaber
Yeah.
for a good chunk of the movie.
Yes. Yeah. They should have gone that way instead of the subverting of expectations.
Yeah, which yeah, it would have been much more logical to have that division of labor.
Hmm.
But the Chinese don't like certain minority groups. So
Hmm.
they wanted that CCP dollar.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, and like we were saying about with Ray being having the technical expertise, and of course the scene that Az of Heel versus Babyface just loves so much. I bypassed the compressor.
Which again, if that was the character's main talent, was that type of technical stuff, I'd accept it.
Yeah, because well, she was a yeah, because she was a scavenger, so she would know how to how ships worked. But then you have like, oh, she's a pilot, okay, and you know, she
Mhm.
knows she can use the Force, and she knows how to use a lightsaber, and na 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 na. Na. Oh, hey, D Rhino.
Hey, hey. But yeah, and this is not to. I feel like that trilogy could have been saved, but the time would have been, during the initial planning stages, in the sense of maybe actually have a planning stage.
Yes. Yeah. Well, we're getting kind of close to the end. Does anybody have any questions for us? Do 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 do. Na, na, da, da, na, 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 na. I would actually get the music, but then I'm afraid we'd get a copyright claim.
Right? And I already said, I already badmouthed China, or at least the Chinese government, and said a few words that were kind of choicy. So we're already going to get dinged enough as it is.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And no worries, Dean. I know you can, of course, catch the replay.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yep. But all right. So it looks like we don't really have any questions.
yeah.
Yes, I guess what we kind of were getting into, but outside of just sharing a few anecdotes of stories we liked, was that maintaining that proper game balance, quote unquote,
Hmm.
uh, is important. It also depends on what you're doing. Again, like the nonsensical Rambo action scenes, if that's what your movie is about, then go for it. You can't, but you can't also have that and try to bring the feels because say, oh no, there is a large thug who is attacking Rambo and his date. Uh, Rambo's going to need all of his strength and skills to fight this one mugger, which for a different story, that one mugger could be the main opponent.
Hmm.
And that could actually work out really nicely just because, again, if, depending on the world, maybe one guy with a knife is a top tier threat for your character.
Hmm.
And the lower your character's starting power level, the easier it is to come up with problems for them.
Right, and also too, just I mean, it's trying not to have them be so good at everything, have them be not perfect but somewhat imperfect, have them be just a have them be good at certain things, and then other things would be like, I have no idea.
Mhm.
um I just thought of a really good example. So going back to Batman,
Mhm.
in Justice League Dark, the animated movie, you
Mhm.
had Batman teaming up with the likes of Zatanna. Oh, I just lost his name.
Oh, Constantine.
Constantine, thank you. And Deadman, and bunch of other people, and they're in the doing the whole mystical magic stuff, and the entire time Batman is just kind of there, just along for the ride, and he's kind of grumbles because he's like, I am so out of my element here.
Yeah. Uh, well, he was there because they went, if we have Batman on the cover, we'll sell more copies.
Yes.
Um, yeah, and just having a character who's good at what they do and you just force them to not do what they're good at can be really interesting because you get to see
Mhm.
how they respond when they aren't in control.
Yeah, yeah. When they're going up against magical demons and stuff, and it's just
Mhm.
like, you just see Batman kind of standing there groaning. Mm. But yeah, it's it is that's another element to kind of take them out of or take them out of their element, if you will, and see what happens.
Also, you kind of need to make sure that you understand the elements that you're writing in. So, like, just hypothetically, be aware that science is not just like one big catch-all.
Hmm.
Unless you have a character who's just explicitly a world-class genius like Reed Richards, I'm sorry. If your science officer is an electrical engineer, they're not going to be able to come up with a vaccine to fight the space virus.
Yeah, 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 and yeah, if they're an astrophysicist, yeah, the same thing. Yeah, like if they're an astrophysicist, they're not going to know how to come up with a herbicide to fight a giant plant that's taken over the world.
A character who has a doctorate in biology is not going to be able to tell you what kind of a robot you just brought in.
Yes, exactly. So, but well, okay. Well, we're getting near the once again getting closer to the end. Last call for questions.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun topic, but I think we've kind of hit our limit on it.
Yes.
Da-da-da-da-da-da,
Da-da, da-da,
da-da-da-da,
da-da, da-da.
da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Oh,
Any
here we go.
favorite imperfect heroes?
Any favorite and perfect heroes? Hmm.
Peter Parker.
I'm gonna say Jack Bauer.
Okay, you go first.
Hey, so Jack Bauer, tough as nails, counterterrorism agent, always off saving the world and, fighting the bad guys and, getting into fist fights and gun battles and stuff. But, you
Mhm.
know, he had a failing marriage and then his wife ends up getting killed. He has a very tenuous relationship with his daughter. One season he gets hooked on heroin. Uh, he
That sounds like you made it up, but I know you didn't.
no, no, I didn't. No, I didn't make that up. No, he gets hooked on heroin. Um, he almost, he gets a virus and almost dies. He gets captured by the Chinese and tortured for a long time. So he's really messed up in the head. So yeah,
Mhm.
he's a hero and he's always saves the day, but he's you know not all there.
Yep. For my example, Peter Parker Spider-Man is a great example of putting characters into situations they're not suited for. Spider-Man is kind of like the all-rounder. You can basically put him in any scenario, and thanks to his agility and spider sense, he can at least function. Yeah, it's like that was one thing I noticed when I read the comic book of Infinity War. It was kind of funny. It's like we have all of the world's greatest heroes here to help us fight this fight. We have Doctor Strange, the master of the magic arts, and we have the Silver Surfer. We have I can't remember all who was on that. It's like a bunch of these big powerful heavyweights, and then we've got a guy from New York who can move fast and has web shooters,
Yeah,
which they actually used the fact that he was so weak to their advantage, like because Thanos ignored him for a while, so he was able to web him in the eyes. But
yeah.
the other thing is that where they keep putting him into is situations where, oh well, I mean, sure, it'd be easy for Spider-Man to beat this villain, but he has to worry that if he takes too long, he won't get to the hospital in time to get Aunt May this medicine that he picked up.
Hmm.
Or, sure, Peter beat the Green Goblin, but he stayed, or he didn't get to his date on time with MJ, so she's really pissed off with him, and now the relationship's on the rocks. So it's actually kind of funny if you read those old Spider-Man comics. They're almost like half superhero story, half romance drama, or half soap opera. And it's like the superhero part is like an intrusion on the soap opera part. It's like, oh man, Peter Parker's life would be great if he didn't keep having to dress up in pajamas and fight aliens.
Yeah, if in when you see the new movie, that you see a little bit of that in there too.
Mhm.
That his life and being Spider-Man than his private life, because it picks up right after was it Far From Home.
Far From Home.
Yeah.
I hope they get I hope they get away from having all the titles involve the word home. That was kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do with the next Spider-Man movie. It'll probably be a team up with Venom.
Which it's weird that they have a version of Venom who has no reason to like or dislike Spider-Man.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that's all the show we have for you tonight. Thank you everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And like DB said before, if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe, and do all that fun, cool algorithm stuff.
Yep. Also, I do have a Patreon for my writing. For just look up Patreon DB Fastbinder, and if you want to just kick in a couple bucks every month, you'll get early access to my writing. Right now, book 5 has just launched. We're 2 updates in, so yeah, things are getting interesting.
Yeah, and keep an eye out for the Guardian Angel mailing list. Should be coming up pretty soon. So
I'm sure you won't be shy about it when on the podcast.
No, I will not be. All right. Well, again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week. Good night.
Yep. Night, everyone.